One of the things I really appreciate about the Dragon Age series is the way they kind of handle religion. They are not overly preachy about it, they're not cramming it down people's throats. They kind of have it to where it integrates into the story and lore well enough to where it makes things more interesting versus just boring or just off-putting. And what's also great is we find ourselves even questioning whether these really powerful beings are truly gods or simply just revered as such. And even the maker himself, the Dragon Age writer, said they are never going to truly reveal whether or not the maker does or does not exist. Now, I could go through a lot of the gods' names, their purposes, and their histories, but that would make this video a lot longer and would likely bore quite a few of the viewers. But the main point of what I wanted to discuss here is, again, a lot of these gods are worshipped as gods, but what if they are not? What if they are simply just very powerful beings revered as such? Because that is a very popular theme, not only in fantasy but in sci-fi, to where if somebody attains enough power, whether it be magic or technology, they're kind of elevated to this godhood status. Now, although I won't mention every single god by name, I will go ahead and mention some of the different just groups of gods that are worshipped by different groups of people, such as, for instance, the Old Gods, which their worship originated in the Tevinter Imperium, or the Tevinter of old, to where the 7 Old Gods were worshipped, with Dumont being the first and most powerful of the bunch, and was also believed to have taught humans blood magic, and also convinced them to kind of try and breach the Golden City, which a lot of people believed led to the creation of the Darkspawn, which I will discuss later on in this video. And although we cannot deny the existence of these old gods as far as the beings themselves, it is still in question whether or not they are truly gods, considering that they, through Grey Warden intervention, can be killed, and there's the whole question of, if you kill a god, are they truly a god, that's kind of brought up. Not only that, but these old gods, in their dragon form, which some believe actually have a more humanoid or just different form altogether besides this dragon form, can also be corrupted by Darkspawn into becoming archdemons, which kind of work as the hive mind controlling them. Then you have the Elven Pantheon, also known as the Creators, that were worshipped by the elves, and they were all sealed away and kind of exiled by Fanhero, which I'm probably sure I may have mispronounced, and I'm going to be more likely mobbed in the comment section below, for reasons that are not entirely known. You also have the Forgotten Ones, also elven gods, but they were a bit more malicious and evil, thus why they became the Forgotten Ones. Even the Avar have their own gods that they worship and revere. And although a lot of these religions are very stubborn in their belief that their religion is the right one and the other gods other than theirs don't exist, the Chantry is probably the most in-your-face about it. And one of the most powerful and most often told tales, besides the story of Andraste as the Bride of the Maker herself, is probably the one of the Golden City and how it turned to black. You had, as I've stated in a previous video, the Tevinter Imperium, who already after conquering about all of Thedas, and were deemed responsible for destroying Arlethon, but later found out from Abelas was not the case, and was actually a civil war between the elves that caused that. They decided to go ahead and say, you know what, screw it, we're going to go ahead and kick down the doors to the Golden City, we're going to overthrow the Maker and put ourselves in that seat of power. And it was this act of hubris that was kind of spurred on by Dumont to go into the Fade and do this, that the Chantry believes is one of the ultimate sins, that the very presence of the Magisters in the Golden City corrupted it and turned it to the Black City, which not only made the Maker turn his back on all the world, but also the Magisters were transformed in the first Darkspawn and casted back down into Thedas, which led to the many blights that Thedas has already experienced. In Dragon Age 2 Legacy DLC, as well as Dragon Age Inquisition, however, we have Corypheus tell us that when the Magisters arrived in what was supposed to be the Golden City, that it was already the Black City to begin with. And this is where I'm going to start discussing some theories that I have about not only the gods, but also the events of the Golden and Black City. And a lot of this is supported by research into the game's lore from the different books and so on. So again, I mentioned before that the gods themselves may not actually be gods. They may just be beings of great power that, were revered and elevated as such. And the reason why I feel that way, or one of the reasons I should say why I feel that way, is, for instance, again, the old gods, we've seen them capable of being destroyed. It takes a little bit, but they're still able to, the Grey Wardens are still able to do so. And also the fact that when you were at the Well of Sorrows, when Dragon Age Inquisition with Abelas, he mentions the fact that it wasn't just that Mythal was betrayed, but Mythal was also killed, if you can kill a god. Now, a lot of people are like, well, you know what, we've seen Flameth come back time and time again. And although that's true, Mythal / Flameth is able to come back because of the fact that we constantly see Flameth using a very powerful form of magic that kind of takes a piece of herself, whether it be like a part of her soul or what have you, and just have it be detached and in a different area, to which she later is able to, through ritual magic or other means, bring herself back. As we see in the events of the Dragon Age Origins, to where you're able to kill her, but then in Dragon Age 2, she's able to be revived on a mountain pass through a ritual. So I mean, again, that proves that she's definitely using very powerful magic, but does not necessarily prove that she is a god. As for the Golden City and the Black City, if Crypheus is to be believed, then the Golden City was always black to begin with. The Black City, however, may have not have been the abandoned home of the Maker, but instead may have been a prison that the Magisters broke into by mistake, which contained a great evil. If the Maker does not exist, and the Chantry story is not to be believed, then that would certainly explain why the Magisters who broke into the Black City, when going through the physical fade, still were transformed into the Darkspawn before returning back to Thedas. But this also means that they were not the first. Considering what we know from Dragon Age 2, when you go into the Primeval Taig, it's learned that that Taig is, well, before even most of recorded history. And that's where you find the Red Lyrium idol. And what we learn within Dragon Age Inquisition is that Red Lyrium is simply just lyrium that has been corrupted by the Blight. Now, considering this Taig and this Red Lyrium idol existed before even the first Blight, that means that the Blight, or the dark force that kind of created the Blight, existed long before the Magisters even entered the Fade. What I believe is there's a very good chance that the Blight once ravaged land and was contained and sealed within the Fade. Well, that'll about do it for this video. If you agree or even disagree with anything that I've said as far as some of my theories or opinions in this video, definitely feel free to go ahead and list them down below. Also, if there's anything I may have missed as far as lore is concerned, or if you even have any ideas of your own, definitely feel free to share that as well. I thank you for watching this, hope it was enjoyable, and until next time. And I mean, if we're really talking about people having an issue with blood magic, if you think about it, Phylacteries in themselves are already literally using blood magic to be able to